Hello, friends. This is Paris, the capital city of France. Here stands a magical building, locally nicknamed La Dame de Fer or Iron Lady. Elegant by day and romantic at night. The Eiffel Tower. Paris would be a host city for the Exposition Universelle or World's Fair in 1889 to celebrate the centennial or 100-year anniversary of the French Revolution. About 107 project proposals were submitted to build a monument in the Champ de Mars, located in central Paris, to serve as the World's Fair entrance. This is the history of the Eiffel Tower. The commission was won by Eiffel Company. Eiffel Company is a consulting and construction firm owned by Alexandre Gustave Eiffel. Eiffel is a bridge engineer, architect, and metal expert. In June 1884, two chief engineers in Eiffel's company, Émile Nouguier and Maurice Coquelin, had the idea for a very tall tower. The tower project was a bold extension of this principle up to a height of 300 meters. 18 September 1884, Eiffel registered a patent for a new configuration allowing the construction of metal supports and pylons capable of exceeding a height of 300 meters. The tower's inspiration came from the Lighting Observatory built in New York City in 1853. In order to make the project more acceptable to public opinion, Nouguier and Coquelin commissioned the architect Stephen Sylvestre to work on the project's appearance. 30 March 1885, Eiffel presented his plans to the Société des Ingénieurs Civils. 1st May 1886, the French Minister of Trade announced that a budget for the 1889 World's Fair was passed. 8 January 1887, a contract to build the tower was signed. Eiffel signed it acting in his own capacity rather than as the representative of his company. Moreover, Eiffel was to receive all income from the commercial exploitation of the tower during the World's Fair and for the next 20 years. He later established a separate company to manage the tower, putting up half the necessary capital himself. A French bank, the Crédit Industriel et Commercial or CIC, helped finance the construction of the Eiffel Tower. During the period of the tower's construction, the CIC was acquiring funds from loans to the National Bank of Haiti, some of which went towards the financing of the tower. According to the New York Times, at the time when the CIC was helping finance the Eiffel Tower, the CIC was choking Haiti's economy, taking much of the young nation's income back to Paris. The proposed Eiffel Tower had been a subject of controversy and drawing criticism. 26 January 1887, the work on the Eiffel Tower's foundations started. And then a protest happened. 14 February 1887, a group featuring architects, artists, composers, and writers wrote and filed a petition named Protestation des artistes contre la tour de Monsieur Eiffel, or protest against the Tower of Mr. Eiffel. The petition was published in the newspaper Le Temps. Still, it was too late because the construction had already begun. All the elements of the construction were prepared in Eiffel's factory located at Le Valois-Perret on the outskirts of Paris. Each of the 18,000 pieces used to construct the tower was specifically designed and calculated, traced out to an accuracy of a tenth of a millimeter, and then put together, forming new pieces around 5 meters each. 1st July 1887, the assembly of the pillars mounting started. A team of constructors, who had worked on the Great Metal Viaduct projects were responsible for the 150 to 300 workers on site, assembling this gigantic erector set. All the metal pieces of the tower are held together by rivets, a well-refined method of construction at the time the tower was constructed. At first, the pieces were assembled in the factory using bolts, later to be replaced one by one with thermally assembled rivets, which contracted during cooling, thus ensuring a very tight fit. A team of 4 men was needed for each rivet assembled, one to heat it up, another to hold it in place, a third to shape the head, and a fourth to beat it with a sledgehammer. Only a third of the 2,500,000 rivets used in the construction of the tower were inserted directly on site. The upright rests on concrete foundations were installed a few meters below ground level on top of a layer of compacted gravel. Each corner edge rests on its own supporting block, applying to it a pressure of 3 to 4 kilograms per square centimeter, and each block is joined to the others by walls. On the same side of the construction, the builders used watertight metal caissons and injected compressed air so that they were able to work below the level of the water. 7 December 1887, the construction of the legs with scaffolding started. The 4 columns of the tower each have access like stairs and elevators to the first 2 floors, while in the south column, only the elevator to the second floor restaurant is publicly accessible. The tower was assembled using wooden scaffolding and small steam cranes mounted onto the tower itself. The assembly of the first floor was achieved by the use of 12 temporary wooden scaffolds of 30 meters high and 4 larger scaffolds of 40 meters each. Sandboxes and hydraulic jacks replaced after the use of permanent wedges allowed the metal girders to be positioned to an accuracy of 1 millimeter. 20 March 1888, the first floor was completed. The first floor is publicly accessible by elevators or stairs. When originally built, the first floor contained 3 restaurants, but today there is a Sangkong Tui Truk Eiffel restaurant and other facilities. 14 August 1888, the second floor was completed. The second floor is publicly accessible by elevator or stairs and has a restaurant called Le Jules Verne. 31st March 1889, the cupola construction was completed. The third floor is the top floor, publicly accessible by elevator. Originally, they were laboratories for various experiments, and a small apartment reserved for Gustave Eiffel to entertain guests, which is now open to the public, complete with period decorations and lifelike mannequins of Eiffel and some of his notable guests. On that day, Sunday, 31st March 1889, the Eiffel Tower was inaugurated at 1:30 p.m. while workers were still working on the interior fittings and the elevators had not been installed yet. Gustave Eiffel raised a French flag at the top of the tower. The celebration then continued at the foot of the tower, where Gustave Eiffel paid tribute to his teams and in particular to the 300 workers who built this tower. At its birth, the tower was actually red. The Eiffel Tower is 330 meters tall, about the same height as an 81-story building. Its base is square, measuring 125 meters on each side. Also, it is equipped with 1,665 stairs. How heavy is the Eiffel Tower? The wrought iron of the Eiffel Tower weighs 7,300 tons. The addition of lifts, shafts, and antennae has brought the Eiffel Tower's total weight to 10,100 tons. This construction consists of 18,038 iron parts. Being the highest point in Paris is an easy target for lightning, which tends to take the easiest and quickest route to the Earth. especially since it is made of wrought iron, which is considered a very conductive metal. By its structure, the tower is naturally connected to the ground. Right from its construction, Gustav Eiffel had planned for everything. He installed 4 lightning rods at the top, like copper brooms directed to the sky. Like in our buildings, these lightning conductors are connected to insulated cables that go down to the ground to ensure the distribution of electricity. Maintenance of the Eiffel Tower includes 16 tons of paint every 7 years to prevent it from rusting. The tower has been completely repainted at least 19 times since its construction. Lead paint was still being used as recently as 2001, when the practice was stopped out of concern for the environment.
And why was the Eiffel Tower going to be demolished in 1909?
The Eiffel Tower's construction in 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days was a veritable technical and architectural achievement. But Gustav Eiffel had a permit for the tower to stand for only 20 years. It was to be dismantled in 1909 when its ownership would revert to the city of Paris. To remedy the situation, Gustav Eiffel knew that the scientific uses of the tower could prolong its lifespan. That is why he allowed numerous scientific experiments to be carried out. For example, meteorological and astronomical observations, physics, air resistance, and others. He succeeded in saving his tower by putting it forward as a monumental support antenna for wireless broadcasting. The very first digital broadcast in Paris originated from a transmitter on the Eiffel Tower. Now, there is a total of 120 antennas on the top of the Eiffel Tower. This is where the radio and digital television signals are transmitted from the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower also represents the magic of light. The tower was fitted with a grand total of 20,000 light bulbs and 120 kilowatt of electricity. The sparking lights consume very little energy, approximately 8,800 kilowatt-hour per year, which is equivalent to the annual energy consumption of a 30-meter square studio apartment with 2 occupants. They represent 0.4% of the tower's annual energy consumption.
And then how much does it cost to build the Eiffel Tower?
The construction of the Eiffel Tower cost 8 million francs or about $1.5 million in 1890 dollars. When we use the inflation calculator, $1.5 million in 1890 will be worth $50 million in 2023. Yes, $50 million. In 1991, UNESCO listed the Eiffel Tower as a World Heritage Site. Today, the Eiffel Tower is the most visited monument in the world, attracting over 7 million annual sightseers. And yes, the Eiffel Tower remains a symbol of love in the city of lights.
Now you know. Do you have a question?